Hey everyone, welcome to the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by drroto.com. Get your daily prescription of fantasy sports. Derek, it has been a minute since you and I have gotten to talk about football, and what better day than St. Patrick's Day, the beginning of March Madness, and the middle of this frenzied free agency for you and I to share a bevy and talk some football.
How many green beers are you in so far this St. Patrick's Day, Samantha?
Sadly, I was working late, so I'm in on like one.
Do you want to do the over-under on how many I'm in?
I'm going to bet the over.
Wow, thanks. All right, appreciate that. Yes, we have a lot to catch up on. And there's so much that's fantasy relevant to sink our teeth into. 2022 implications all over the place so far. It's been active so far over the last week, Sam. It's been crazy.
I feel like what has happened in free agency is, someone is playing Madden and got a hold of the actual NFL rosters and just started clicking around and thought, this would be fun, this would be fun, this would be fun. And we're all like, what are you doing? Someone take away the controller because this is crazy. But
I was such a cheap bastard back in the day, or at least my family was. My dad, shout out to my dad, Pat. When I was in high school, did you ever have like a PlayStation or anything, or like a GameCube? And you didn't have the money for the memory card, so you would run a franchise for years, and you wouldn't want to shut off the console because otherwise you'd lose all your progress because you didn't have a memory card because your dad wouldn't buy you one. It kind of sucked. So it's like your console would be hot. It would always be like 10 degrees warmer in your room than every other room in the house. I don't know if you had that plight, but yes, it's like we were doing our own simulation of free agent moves and trades and all this banana stuff, but it's in real life. It's crazy.
It is pretty crazy. Let's go ahead and jump right in because we could go on for 2 hours talking about the free agent moves that happened, but we'll keep it brief and kind of do a quick touch base on all the teams. Sure. I want to start off with the biggest news, to me at least, of today. And maybe it's not the biggest news, but I think it is. And that is Davante Adams is now a Las Vegas Raider. I'm going to go ahead and shout out that I called this. I was a guest on a podcast not long ago, and they asked me what a good landing spot was for Adams. And I said, what kind of a storybook ending would it be if you could get Adams back with his college quarterback and Derek Carr? That would be such an amazing fit. They've been trading away their other receivers. Hunter Renfrow is all alone. Perfect duo there of Adams and Renfrow. What do you think of this move for Las Vegas?
First off, you got to say it the correct way. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. And then when you're talking about the Raiders, they've really been missing a wide receiver for a long time, right? Like a prototypical top end guy on the outside and somebody you can move all over the formation. Davante Adams fits like a glove, to quote Ace Ventura. And it's just kind of reunited and it feels so good with Derek Carr, Fresno State connection. Instantly he makes this offense, kind of on par with like the rest of the division, right? You got people have been talking about all offseason since Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos that Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in like a division in NFL history. And I would even argue that Derek Carr had a better year than Russell Wilson did last year, but I digress. But yeah, this is going to be a logjam, Sam. It's going to be a gauntlet in the AFC West next year. I love this move for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think it's an awesome move. I definitely think it makes them true contenders. You always wonder about that team as a whole in terms of the offense and how it's going to shake out. Is Josh Jacobs going to be healthy enough all season long? The thing we were wondering before is Kenyon Drake really going to eat into that many of his carries? And then as far as the wide receivers, who is going to be the number 2 next to Hunter Renfrow, who Hunter Renfrow kind of came out of nowhere as well. So we're kind of going back and forth with, is it Bryan Edwards? Is it Zay Jones? Like, who is it going to be? And then obviously the Raiders had a bunch of off the field issues that this past season. We won't go into all of those, but it shook up the entire wide receiver locker room as a whole. And they needed to address this with a veteran who's been there, done that, amazing experience. I feel like this is such a good move for them. What's crazy on the other side is I'm trying to read the tea leaves, and maybe I'm just overthinking it. I do have a book that I need to read this offseason called You're Overthinking Too Much. So maybe it's just me. but they did just franchise tag Davante Adams. The Packers did before they traded him. Did they do that in time to get Rodgers to sign the deal? Because he's officially going to be a Packer next year. Did they pull a switcheroo on Aaron Rodgers? And on a level of 1 to 10, how mad is he right now?
Well, I'll start with the one that's easier to answer, which is he's like a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. He's 12. Pissed.
He's wearing his anger level on his jersey right now. He's just 12.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Perfect way to put it. He is fuming mad. I mean, so imagine committing to making a big decision in your life, right? And a big part of that decision has to do with one specific person being at that business, location, relationship, whatever it is, right? And you make that commitment, and then less than like a month later or a week later, that person is like moved out of the area or like no longer with the organization or the company, whatever it is.
Yeah.
However you can relate to it, Adams and Rodgers were paired at the hip, right? Like peanut butter and jelly, tomato, spaghetti and meatball, lamb and tuna fish, however you want to put it. Those
French fries and Oreo.
Exactly. Match made in heaven, right?
Yes.
So, if I'm Rodgers, I'm not going to say that they duped him because I think that they had every intent to try to work it out with Davante Adams, but you knew if they did this whole new deal with Aaron Rodgers where he's getting paid a boatload of money and they re-signed and re-upped with Devondre Campbell at the linebacker position on a 5-year deal. They only have so much money to go around, Sam, and unfortunately – Davante Adams said he will not play on the franchise tag, and I think they took him at his word, and they just decided to go ahead and cash out and get some assets back in return, and the Raiders are the beneficiary of it.
They absolutely are. I'm sure. I mean, if the Packers are in a way bending over and keeping Aaron Rodgers, doing what they need to keep their guy because they're looking at the market the way the rest of us are looking and saying, okay, Russell Wilson signed somewhere. What else are we supposed to do with this? And obviously we'll talk about Deshaun Watson shortly, but they're going to need to go and get him someone that's going to be effective. And a player that comes to mind. Oh, wait, you have a question for the class?
I'm raising a hand. Like I'm used
raising a
to
hand. Okay.
Now where I get to raise my hand. What's your knee-jerk reaction? Where does Aaron Rodgers rank? How does this affect his rankings right now as far as where he lands on the 2022 QB rankings board? I think it takes him out of the MVP race, and I think it also removes him out of really the top 10 consideration at the
top
quarterback position. Who's he throwing to, Sam?
He's going to have to make up with every other receiver and every other tight end and every running back on his squad and get the ball to literally everyone else. I think that he's going to have to do a lot of things, but I wanted to pivot to someone that they have to get. They have to go and get a receiver. Packers now have to address this issue. And the Rams just signed Allen Robinson to their receiver squad. And when you look at their receivers, that room looks pretty crowded right now. Are they going to keep Odell Beckham Jr.? He's someone that comes to mind as a free agent who just come off a Super Bowl win that might be a good fit with Rodgers.
I personally don't think that the Rams are going to bring back Odell Beckham Jr., right? Think about it. Odell Beckham was able to help them achieve and get to the Super Bowl and even had an impact for the limited amount of time that he was killed during Super Bowl 56. But let's be real, Sam. I mean, this is a win now team, right? And Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, which means his timetable for return is probably the middle of next season at best case scenario. That doesn't help you win now. Allen Robinson helps you win from week number 1 in the 2022 NFL season. So I think it makes sense. I don't think Odell will be back in Los Angeles, even though I think it helped resurrect his career based off of the production that he had.
It proved a lot of people wrong in terms of what he was capable of doing with a team, proving that he was capable of being part of a winning franchise and leveling them up, which I did feel like he did down the stretch. He absolutely stepped up and did all the things that us fantasy managers have been wanting out of him for years. So I definitely think he did that. But I just wonder, I agree. I don't know that he's going to stay a Ram. I do think that the Packers are a nice fit for him. I also have to say, as much as I love Robert Woods, he's also come off an injury, but he had his injury much earlier in the season. He's also a piece that could be on the move just because it is now a very crowded backfield for the Rams at the moment, and another player that I think would be a perfect plug and play for Rodgers.
Well, we'll see, who the Packers are going to bring in. They could draft a couple players. They could bring in a couple free agents. I mean, Julio Jones just recently seems like he's going to be released from the Tennessee Titans. And we have a lot of other moves to get to, but certainly the Green Bay Packers are going to have to try to figure something out as far as replacing the elite level production from Devontae Adams, because Adams, you can make an argument, it was the number one wide receiver in the NFL over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And, Rodgers is not going to have the guy that he's relied upon during that span, including during the span of back-to-back MVP runs over the last 2 seasons.
Definitely. Let's talk about another team that has been trying to address the wide receiver issue in a very interesting way, and that would have to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, in that they're paying a very high premium for Christian Kirk. You and I talked off the air slightly about this.
A little bit.
That price tag kind of feels like when I've had a couple too many drinks and I go online shopping and I think, I'm not going to price check this. I'm not going to go and try and get a better deal somewhere else for this. I'm just going to buy the first thing I see online because I thought of it. That's kind of how I feel about this, and that might be mean. Is that mean?
Is there anything that you've bought as much, or is there anything that you've ever purchased that you feel like you regret as much as the Jags are about to regret this contract with Christian Kirk?
No.
No large purchases whatsoever. None.
No. I mean, just not to this level. I've never impulse shopped like this. I mean, this was just, searching wide receiver and then just doing a scroll and click and buy. And I'm not saying that he's terrible by any means, but I just do not feel like the price tag matches the caliber player that he is. They also went and got Zay Jones, which I feel like this is almost an insult to Zay Jones that he's getting $24 million for 3 years while Kirk is getting $72 for 4. I mean, it also feels a bit weird. I don't know. It's just, it sits odd with me.
When you're comparing, right? I mean, look, I'm not by no means my car aficionado, right? But I'm kind of assuming that you paid, I don't know, sexy sport car money, like Lamborghini, Ferrari, something like that. And what you end up getting is like a Honda Civic. That's really insulting to Christian Kirk.
That was meaner than what I said.
Sorry to Honda Civic drivers. Anyway, I don't want to insult anybody. I'm just saying that the production, I don't think, is going to match the contract. Am I wrong by saying that? Sure. As far as his fantasy relevancy, I think that it definitely sustains him in dynasty formats. I think it keeps him in that top 30 range, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I mean, maybe we're just shooting on this so much because obviously Trevor Lawrence didn't have the rookie season that he should have had if he had had, average.
A coach that wasn't cheating on his wife and getting hammered and staying in Cleveland after or staying in Cincinnati after he losing. I don't know. I mean, Urban Meyer's tenure there in Jacksonville was an absolute disaster. But point is, I mean, I think that we're going to see a lot more what Trevor Lawrence has to bring to an NFL team now that you have a competent NFL coach, right?
Yeah, I think so. And he's now got a couple weapons, which is great. They also added tight end Evan Ingram. Maybe that can resurge because he was a thing for a minute, what feels like forever ago. But I don't know. It's still a little bit. It's just an interesting spending spree that I wasn't anticipating.
Well, getting the guard Brandon Scarra from the Washington Commanders now also really helps, right? I mean, because that'll help secure that interior of the offensive line. I think he's an upgrade from Andrew Norwell, who saw his better days in Carolina as a Panther. So, they also, you franchise Cam Robinson, and you could end up going tackle early in this NFL draft, right? Even at the top of the NFL draft order. So I think the Jags are clearly trying to build around Trevor Lawrence. And I think that that's the right thing to do if you're Doug Peterson and the rest of this coaching crew.
I definitely agree. Thank you, Jonathan Danger, for tuning in. We appreciate you. He said he missed us.
Danger!
And he's also throwing this one at me, which I definitely appreciate. He says, go Mitch. And I'm pretty sure that refers to Mitchell Trubisky, who is officially the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. When I say I out loud made a sound that made everyone at my office run into my office for concern, there were noises, there were words said. I've come to terms with it. I understand the move, but it was not expected in the slightest.
So I'm going to ask you, what were some of the symptoms of Mitchell Trubisky's tenure there with the Chicago Bears? Bad offensive line, a good wide receiver group, a great defense, and expectations that he didn't live up to. So
pressure.
What? This team, Sam, I look, there's been so much moving and shaking and quarterback carouseling during this offseason. And I think that we're not even done yet, right? Because the Deshaun Watson domino has not fallen yet. Nope. And we'll get to that shortly. But, do you really feel like Mitchell Trubisky gives you even a remote chance in this division? It's a loaded AFC North.
The thing is, this division is absolutely insanely tough. To not go out and get an ace, you're going to fall short. What I think this move is it's not
settled on Mitchell. You settled on Mitch.
I didn't settle. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. But it happened to me. It happened to me. Okay, so here's the thing that I think makes sense. And when you go back to historically what the Steelers front office does, they make very smart financial moves, and they are very conservative with how they use their draft picks, how they spend their money. They're very conservative, and they're very thoughtful about that. I feel like them and the Patriots are renowned for that, which is hilarious that two kind of rivals in a way teams are actually very similar in how they overall manage the wallet. But let me first say, I think that it makes sense in that I see the Steelers drafting a quarterback in this draft class. I see them drafting either in the second or the third round. I think that there is some talent that'll fall, but I don't expect any of those quarterbacks to play this year. I think that there's a lot of quarterbacks in this class that have some talent, but a lot of them still need some development. I think that's kind of a consistent note across the board for a lot of these quarterbacks. Maybe Pickett is someone that could just come out guns a-blazing and start. But unlike other quarterback classes, I don't think this is one where everyone's sitting and waiting and thinking they're going to be the starter. They're going to be the starter. So I think that this 2-year contract for Mitchell Trubisky makes sense to allow one of those rookies to cook a little bit longer and us to be ready long-term, because the thing we need desperately for as a Steelers franchise is a quarterback that is young and is going to be a long-time winner for us, because we got Joe Burrow, we got Lamar Jackson. Maybe we'll have Baker Mayfield again next year. We don't know. That's another question mark. But we've got a whole young division that we have to stay competitive with. So this does keep us competitive in the youth column. End of rant.
Do you want my take on it, or do you want to just leave it at that? We can leave it at that if you want.
I'm pretty sure this show is based on us going back and forth.
Okay. So
it says debate.
It feels like the Pittsburgh Steelers are the financially responsible couple that don't take any risks or investments or anything like that. They're go out that
talks about their IRA and their stock investments at a dinner, but the dinner is at an Irish bar, and they're like, "Oh, have you guys heard how this stock is doing?" And they're like, "Can we just have fun? Can we just have fun?"
The Steelers are going to be steady Eddie when it comes to all this stuff, right? And and they're a great organization. I'm not knocking them at all. The Steelers have been relevant for a very long time for a good reason, right? They've had a lot of stability at the head coaching position, namely, also, Ben Roethlisberger, tip of the hat. Like, the man was a fantastic starting quarterback in the National Football League for the better part of the last 10, 15 years. So, I mean, I tip my hat to that, right? However, in today's National Football League, the quarterback position is, I think, it's hard to imagine that a team is being able to make a deep run without at least a top 12-ish quarterback. Joe Burrow with a horrible offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, I think a very, very poor offensive line, and I'm not trying to throw shade at any of them. And he had great weapons on the outside, but they don't get there without Joe Burrow. They would have lost to the Titans if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, back in like the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. I would have liked to have seen the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think have so many symptoms of a Super Bowl contender. They have the most impactful defensive player in the National Football League in TJ Watt. I believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end also very impactful. I think they've got some very nice players in the linebacking group. Devin Bush has been a little bit of a disappointment, but still think that the man has potential and can hopefully play healthy.
Just signed Miles Jack as well.
They did. I was just about to mention that. Right. Miles Jack as well. Cam Hayward has been fantastic, but you flip the other side of the coin. What's this team missing? Yeah, they've had issues up front with the offensive line, but they've got some good receivers. Najee Harris is a very good running back.
Very good.
You need that quarterback, though.
You do.
And I don't know what offers they did or didn't make for the likes of Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't like settling on Mitchell Trubisky. This feels like you're doing a disservice to the rest of the roster by trying to say you believe in a guy who had a very similar set of circumstances in Chicago. What's changed? Probably nothing.
I think what they do is they're looking at the way that the Bengals won, obviously, this season. To what your point you just said, Joe Burrow is a stud, already going in the record books for so many reasons in what he did and accomplished this past season and what he did it with and without an amazing offensive line. I think that the Steelers are going to address the holes across all the different channels that they have on their team. Right. And in order to do that effectively and quickly, they would never have the funds to get the likes of a Rodgers or a Russell Wilson. And so they said, you know what, rather than get someone that we cannot protect, and a quarterback of that caliber isn't going to want to go to a team that cannot be protected. They're going to address everything, and they're going to make a lateral move at quarterback to play safe at that one position and assume if we can keep him safe with amazing studs around him, that's going to raise up the caliber, because we've seen other teams win Super Bowls based on other positions than just the quarterback being necessarily amazing. Defense also wins championships.
I understand that, and you make a host of very good points, Sam. You do. Of course, you always do. But
it's my team.
But
this guy.
Damn it.
Did you have a point?
They don't have a quarterback right now. Like, as much as I like the Steelers, even in that tough division, and I still think that we're going to present issues and problems for Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, whoever the hell is quarterbacking the Cleveland Browns in 2022, they are going to present issues because the Steelers are that talented on the defensive side of the football. But you need a quarterback, and, Kenny Pickett ain't falling to the second round. I hate to break it to you.
No,
he's not.
I don't think he's going to fall. And he's not on my list as top two quarterbacks for
Malik
the Steelers.
Willis ain't falling either. I'll tell you that right now.
He is on my list, but if he fell in the first, and maybe, but I think that we should address that with an offensive line position first. If he makes it to the second round, I think he's off the board. Another player that I like a lot.
No way in hell that Malik Willis. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we're not going NFL draft on this one. Let's stay focused. But
one thing is
I'd be willing to bet my green shirt I'm wearing right now that Malik Willis does not get to the second round.
Okay.
I'll keep it on for all of you video viewers. I'll spare you the sight. It's fine.
Okay. Do I write it down that you're going to give me your shirt?
I'll mail you this. If Malik Willis does not get taken in the first round of this NFL draft, I will mail Samantha the green shirt I'm wearing right now.
I hope you wash it first.
To hell with that. Anyway.
It's going to smell like green beer. Okay. No, just really quickly on this, and then I want to stay focused on free agency. A player I like a lot to land to the Steelers late, because I think that the Steelers are really smart with the way they draft and they allow talent to fall, is Carson Strong, because he has a cannon of an arm that actually fits in. When you look at him side by side, he fits in really well with a style of play that's similar to the quarterback we just had in Big Ben Roethlisberger. Having a cannon of an arm, he's not necessarily the most mobile guy, but since having his surgery and watching his tape at his pro day, he actually has much more mobility now than you'd expect coming off that injury. So he can move about, he can extend the play.
Okay.
But what's going to fit really well in the Mike Tomlin system that we're already used to doing and the whole team's used to running? His style of offense. And he's someone that they can get later and they can stock up at the offensive line positions. See, there's something going on back here. I think it fits.
All right, Sam. Did you put in an application for the general manager position of the Pittsburgh Steelers recently? Well played.
Yeah.
Well played, Sam.
I keep hitting refresh, and for some reason it's not coming through that I got the job yet. So I don't know. Future me thing to discuss. Let's talk about another quarterback that I'm personally very excited about the fantasy implication, the news for him. Obviously, Russell Wilson is now a Denver Bronco. This is huge news for fantasy managers for the Denver Broncos. I mean, this to me catapults that team with what they already have to not just playoff contention, but like a true contender that can go the whole way.
Right. So if you're looking for me to confirm
end of the
that,
take, we're good. We can move on to the next one. Like, yes.
No. I want to do a quick trickle effect.
Okay.
So it seems like Melvin Gordon's not coming back.
Seems like
this offense is going to put up some points, right? We expect him to put up some points. I think Javonte Williams is borderline first round, if not solidified, late first round pick now in redraft.
I agree with that. And I don't think that's a crazy take. I think it actually makes perfect sense.
And I'm even going to go as far as because I've also I did a dynasty draft, a startup dynasty draft recently. And I was kind of messing around in the first round. I was like, man, Javonte Williams, I actually really, really, really like his outlook. I mean, he's up there as far as a dynasty cornerstone that you want to build your dynasty team around. So there's Javonte Williams, but then there's also, I think that this instantly helps Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is the one that really jumps off the page to me dynasty wise, that wins long term. Only 22 years old, out of Alabama. I think he's a great route runner. He wasn't healthy last year. The whole passing offense was an absolute just makeshift mess with Teddy Bridgewater under center. I do think it helps Cortland Sutton as well. Russell Wilson throws a great moon ball, deep ball that Sutton that plays well into his game. I also think you're going to see some good things from KJ Hamler and even Tim Patrick. And I'm not even going to try to say his actual last name, but Albert O is a guy you need to go ahead and make sure you target late in your dynasty drafts, but also in redraft formats heading into the season, unless they add someone via free agency or the NFL draft. Albert O is a big guy out of Missouri that I think is a great pass catcher at the tight end position and could bring you instant value this season. I'm high on this move from the Denver Broncos. And Russell Wilson, I think this puts him back in top 7 territory for me personally.
Absolutely. This catapults a lot of values across the board at every position in terms of where you're taking them. The ADP for everyone goes up several boxes, in my opinion. Albert O, to your point, I think in tight end premium leagues especially, is someone that needs to go off the board much sooner. He's not someone that you're going to be able to snake away late in the draft. He's going to keep going up draft boards. So if you're drafting now and you're in a tight end premium league, it's not crazy to see him go much sooner than you'd actually anticipate him, just because of this surge of offense that we're going to see. Of course, I'm not thinking anything crazy. I'm not thinking top 5, but he's going to go
top 12. I think he's going top 12.
Top 12, I think actually makes sense. between 10 and 12, perfect. You can make
like right around Hunter Henry, like I mean, even maybe Mike Gesicki or something like that. I mean, Gesicki goes a little bit higher, but I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Hunter Henry, and then Alberto. I think just in terms of volume, just
even Noah Fant. I mean, like, is Noah Fant really in a good position right now with no Russell Wilson there in Seattle?
No. And that's an offense that I think we also have to look at if you want to just go straight across.
Metcalf. Oh, no.
I know. The DK Metcalf train, I believe that they're drinking, but not to celebrate. They're just there's a different level happening there in Seattle. It's not looking great. I don't know. And maybe that's also what you talk about in terms of the quarterback market. They have Drew Lock starting. Is there another free agent quarterback before the draft that they could make a move to pick up? Would a Jameis Winston fit there?
I was just making sure my mic still works after I threw up in it. Whoops. No, look, there's other quarterback options. We don't know what they're going to do yet, right? So I'm assuming after the Raiders went ahead and traded for Devontae Adams, I'm assuming they're not trading Derek Carr, but we don't know yet.
That would be really dumb. That would be super dumb.
What the hell's the point? I mean, but who knows? It's the Raiders. So
they're here to watch the world burn if they do that.
But you do need a quarterback that's willing to push the ball down the field, which Jameis Winston, for better or for worse, has done in the past. Now that he has LASIK surgery, thanks, Jameis. But we'll see exactly what the Seahawks may have up their sleeve. Obviously, they traded Russell to the Broncos for a buttload of picks, which is, assuming that they're probably going to have now a top 15 pick in this upcoming NFL draft. So we'll see. But, obviously, I think it does knock down the values of both DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in particular for this upcoming season. And DK, I don't know, Sam. I mean, is he still a top 15 receiver that you want in dynasty formats?
No.
Really? I mean, he's so good.
I mean, there's volume. Like, to your point, who's throwing to him? Obviously, he's a fantastic player, but can Drew Lock get the ball down the field enough times to equal the ADP?
Right now, no, not Drew Lock.
No.
Yes.
As of right now, no. Like, there's a lot of reasons why I don't want to start any more dynasty leagues right now, because there's just too much happening that I can't make a good decision because it's all just up in the air.
You struggle with commitment. I get it.
I do. I know. It's hard for me.
As do I when it comes to football player.
Me, everything,
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding.
Let's talk about something that I know you're going to be amped to talk about. I want to know where you were when you got the ESPN notification, or however you got your notifications, for Tom Brady deciding,
yeah, baby,
hey, I'm not done.
So,
paint the picture. Where were you? I know that you screamed. Like, I just know it.
Well, I was changing a diaper. Baby Kennedy. So all right. So to paint the picture, to really for those audio turning in on our podcast right now, of course, brought to you by drroto.com. So I had my phone to my right and all my baby diaper changing supplies to my left, and baby K right in front of me. So anyway, I'm in the midst of changing a diaper, and I get a buzz on my phone, and I look at it while she's on the ground, and it's like my dad saying, "Yeah, Tom's back, baby," and I'm like, "What the hell's going on here?" And I finished changing the diaper, and all my, and then my phone's just blowing up because it's like, hey, Tom Brady's back. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I check it out, and it's Adam Schefter saying, Tom Brady is back, baby. Sam, instantly, my instant gut reaction goes that Tom Brady's going to be a top, 7 quarterback next year, drafted as a top 7 guy. Obviously, he brings you no rushing value whatsoever outside of 1 yard quarterback sneaks at the end zone. But, he proved last year, even at the age of 44, Sam, he still plays at a high level, still plays at an MVP level. They signed Chris Godwin to a long-term deal. They still got Mike Evans. I'm assuming Gronk's going to come back. And really, Antonio Brown, yeah, it's a downgrade to Russell Gage, but I really liked Russell Gage. And I think this was a sneaky, nice move by the Bucs to bring him in as a number 3 and kind of an insurance policy for Chris Godwin. So I still think Brady's going to be a top 7 guy next year.
I definitely agree. I think he's a top 7 guy. And to talk about Russell Gage, he's a player that I definitely love. I know you know how much I love Russell Gage.
He's great. He's really a good player.
So looking at a now very crowded wide receiver locker room, how do you feel if you had to give a general percentage of how the target share would go for him? How much do you think is going to land for Russell Gage? Whereas towards the end of last season, he was getting the lion's share.
Oh, shnikes. Now that's tricky because
I didn't mean to throw numbers at you.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I do my data and analytics, kind of research and looking around and stuff like that. But I'm expecting a target share that's maybe slightly lower than what you saw from Antonio Brown when he was on the field last year. Mm-hmm. I think that Gage is someone that's similar to Antonio Brown. Of course, he's not as good as he is. I mean, Antonio Brown's like a borderline Hall of Famer, but when you're talking about Russell Gage and what he brings to an offense, I think there's a lot of versatility there. I think there's a lot of ability to move him around the formation and kind of plug gaps. And, if Chris Godwin isn't ready for week number 1, I'm going to go ahead and say that on a floor level, I think that Gage sees somewhere around like a 15 to 20% target share. And to me, that is going to – this offense, with Brady playing the way that he was last year, I think that this Bucs passing offense can sustain 3 relevant fantasy wide receivers.
I definitely think it can sustain them. I just feel like, obviously we know that Russell Gage isn't going to get the target share that we want him to, given what he had last season.
Not in Atlanta, right? Yeah, no. I get it.
But it's a different level of quality. Is he going to be someone that gets less catches overall? Maybe a good bump in yards week in and week out, because maybe he gets something like 50 yards and a touchdown and 3 catches, something smaller on that end. But because of the touchdown, it bumps him. So he kind of does this roller coaster effect week in and week out.
So let me ask you, would you rather have T. Higgins, or would you rather have the number 1 receiver, of, I don't know. Let's go Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay, so rather have T. Higgins or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah. Who's the number 1 receiver there in the Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is. But I guess where you'd take him, it would be silly to not take St. Brown there. But I do love me T. Higgins. I've got him in multiple leagues for multiple reasons, because it's just such a crazy volume that they have there in Cincinnati. It's just, volume is king. And it's not, the target share is different to that offense that I feel compared to Tom Brady. He's so much more effective with less throws. Burrow is just going to sling it all over the place no matter what. And he has to, because he has the terrible offensive line. He has no time in the pocket. He has to just get the ball out. We understand that.
Correct. And Sam, you're on point. At least from what I heard, I think you're on point. All I'm trying to suggest is these offenses that have more scoring opportunities, which the Buccaneers, we expect the Bucs with Tom Brady leading the charge will have probably a top 10 scoring offense, right? I'm being conservative. They could be a top 3. They could be the number 1 scoring offense in the National Football League, but I'm trying to be conservative and say just a top 10. Would you rather have the number 2 or 3 passing option in a pass-heavy offense, or would you rather have the number 1 in another, in another offense that is maybe run-centric or something of that nature? Like maybe a Amari Cooper or something like that with the Cleveland Browns. Like, that's all I'm trying. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Russell Gage, I believe, is going to finish somewhere around a top 30 option next year. And you're probably going to get him pretty late because you're going to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin drafted probably in the first 5 or 6 rounds of redraft formats. And you're probably going to get Gage somewhere around, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever. So, I think that Gage has fantasy value. I think that Brady's a top 7 guy. I think that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are both top 20 receivers next year. And the Bucs offense is still fantasy relevant, very fantasy relevant for next year.
Very fantasy relevant. I want to end the Bucs discussion with this tweet from Field Yates. My friend Field Yates, he's fantastic. I saw this tweet and I thought it was brilliant. Tom Brady's last 9 seasons. 2013, he loses a playoff game. 2014, he wins a Super Bowl. 2015, he loses a playoff game. 2016, wins a Super Bowl. 17 loses. 18 wins a Super Bowl. 19 loses a playoff game. 2020 wins a Super Bowl. 2021 loses a playoff game. 2022, to complete the pattern, he would have to win a Super Bowl. Too much?
Don't do that to me, Sam. The expectations you're trying to set very high.
It's in the numbers. We trust our good friend Field Yates. These numbers don't lie.
I love Field.
Yeah.
Gator's going to Gate. Tater's going to Tate. Gator's going to Gate. I mean,
Brady's going to make it to the Super Bowl. Brady's going to be a playoff thing. Like, it is what it is. We know how these things work. Just throwing that out there. Thanks. Is it too soon to say the Bucs win the Super Bowl in 2022? Maybe, but it would fit the pattern.
I appreciate your pattern. I'm in agreement with your pattern. Is there anything else that we need to discuss, though? I
do want to talk about quickly Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. Feels like a very lateral move to me in that I'm not excited. It's not like, yay. It's just sigh. Looking at my Terry McLaurin shares, just sigh. Heavy
Eagle
sigh.
Fans are all like, good luck, Washington. Nothing like reshaping your franchise, new identity, new name with same quarterback problems. Congrats.
Yeah. New name, same problems. What are you going to do? Okay. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson really quick because It has not been official where he is landing, but you did just read, because we were discussing before we went live, that the Panthers are out. They are out of the talks for him. So they're out of the running. Also, like, side note, I do feel really bad for Sam Darnold that, if he played better and wasn't hurt and blah, 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 then it would be a different story. It just sucks that the start of this point last season was, this is going to be his year. And now it's like, who else can we get? It's just like such a, it's just so sad. Face. It's just so sad. So they're out in the running, but right now you're saying it's the Falcons and the Saints. For yourself, which would you prefer fantasy wise?
Well, the real question is Michael Thomas playing? I mean, if Michael Thomas is playing, I'd prefer the Saints because you're talking about Alvin Kamara, who's arguably the best pass-catching running back in the National Football League, and Michael Thomas, who was a PPR machine. So I would think if those two are both available, and, obviously there's some legal things that Alvin Kamara is going through right now, but in a vacuum, and considering those people are all available, I'd give me the Saints over the Atlanta Falcons because Calvin Ridley ain't playing in 2022. And we're talking about then just no Russell Gage. So who the hell is playing wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons in 2022? Are we talking about like Deshaun Watson throwing to the likes of just Kyle Pitts and that's it?
I'm sure that there would be some that would argue that's all you need, but those would be the people that still think that Kyle Pitts is the answer to end all questions. So I'm not sure that. And looking at their offseason moves, the Falcons moves don't look to support bringing on someone like that to have that many weapons. Unlike when you look at the Jaguars moves and you just see a litany of wide receivers, it's vacant at that position in terms of their offseason moves. If anything, they're just getting rid of them. So I agree, it doesn't make sense there. A fit for fantasy.
I'm saying the Saints. To me, the Saints have a far more Super Bowl contending roster than the Atlanta Falcons do as currently constructed.
Yes, I agree with that. Let's talk about really quick, where do we think that Jimmy Garoppolo lands? That makes sense. If he is on the move, I think maybe the Colts kind of make sense right now. They're in need of a quarterback.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And he is.
I would definitely say it's the, because the 49ers already have a quarterback that they want to try to go ahead and
they want to go forward with Trey Lance. They don't want to drag their feet anymore. Just let them.
So, they don't need a quarterback in return. So, the Indianapolis Colts makes sense given that, they just jettisoned Carson Wentz. I don't think that they necessarily want to roll with a rookie. Jimmy Garoppolo, you have a strong running game and a pretty good defense from last year. Again, pretty similar to what they had at San Francisco. Garoppolo makes a little bit of sense as far as game manager with a strong running game that could probably get the Colts to the playoffs.
Definitely. I think that he's a good move in that sense to get them there. Let's talk briefly about the Dolphins, who made a lot of moves, it feels like, in terms of they grabbed Teddy Bridgewater as their backup quarterback. They signed Chase Edmonds. They signed Raheem Mostert. They're doing the shuffle at running back again. They're going to just,
Chase Edmonds. Yeah.
They're flipping it and just starting over. It's a good move for Edmonds, I think. Helps his value to be back at the number one because James Conner obviously had so much success last season. That's great, but we've been hopeful for Miami running backs in the past. Is there anything that's going to change your opinion given the success we've seen Chase Edmonds have, but in this offense? Or is this just where running backs go to lose their fantasy value?
Well, Raheem Mostert also doesn't help matters because he's very familiar with McDaniel and him and his impact on the 49ers offense during his tenure there. So, those things, Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, I'm not even fully convinced yet that the Dolphins are done bringing in running backs for this upcoming season. God forbid they actually draft the likes of either Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker III or Isaiah Spiller for this NFL draft. I'm not convinced they're done yet, but if we're going by what is currently on the roster, then I think it has committee written all over it, and I'd rather have Mostert than Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I would rather have Mostert as well. Give me all the Mostert. But I just think it's an interesting move when you look at how these teams are going about free agency signings. The Jags going out and catching all the wide receivers that they can. The Dolphins going out and getting all the running backs that they can. It's just interesting to see the way that things shake out at this point. Obviously, we know we're not done. There's still plenty of free agency to come and to discuss further. Guys, we'll do an episode next week because I'm sure there'll be plenty more to cover in Madness. And we're looking forward to talking about rookies coming up. I know you're looking forward to that too, right, Tate?
I'm always doing my research on rookies. My thing, my jam. That's why when you were talking about Malik Willis, I'm like, there's no way he's slipping to the second round. I'm betting my money on it. There's no way he slips to the second round.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But I wanted to talk about something that I thought would help a lot of people that are maybe looking to get more info on their rookies. I know you and I both want to do a lot of rookie deep dives before the draft. Sure. But if people want to look for a site and they just want to get more information, Campus to Canton is a fantastic resource, and I think a lot of people should head on over there and check it out. I don't know if you're familiar with the format, Tate.
I am. They're good.
Okay.
They're good.
Well, for those that are not familiar, you can create your own fantasy team based off of completely college players, and it's like a taxi squad for your regular fantasy league. So once they graduate into the NFL, they get transitioned over to your regular dynasty roster. It's pretty cool for those that are into scouting and looking for that next big talent. So go ahead and check it out. They've got a really amazing tools, deep data charts, ADP charts, college rankings. They've got lots for you to check out and to compare. So what you can actually do is plot how current NFL quarterbacks are performing and how they performed in college compared to the incoming rookie class. So it'll give you a much better range and idea of how they're going to perform going into the NFL. So please check it out. It's Campus to Canton. That's the number 2. And go ahead and use code SAM if you guys feel so intrigued to jump in more and sign up. It's super fun. And I think that it's something I'm going to dive more into this year. Got to get my college squad going because I just love me my rookies and love watching me my tape. Don't you?
You're talking to a tape junkie. Come on. I like to sit there and just watch film. Rather than, watch the, new hot shows or movies, I sit there and watch, college film tape. That's what I do. I'm a dork.
Hey, you're not the only one out there. There's a lot of other people that are out there, which is why we have awesome sites like that to go and check out, get all the fun info for. Guys, please go ahead and follow us on all forms of social media. You can follow Tate at dtater4 on all forms of social. You can find myself on Twitter at Samantha R. Holt and at Sam_awesome on Instagram. Please check out all the other awesome info, articles, podcasts, everything that we have for you over drroto.com. We've got rankings, we've got tools, we've got everything you possibly need to start a league now and get into this draft season, because there is no off season for us fantasy crazies. Check that out. And also have a members only Discord when you sign up, so you can get questions answered right away in that Discord from analysts. It's super cool too. So check that out over at drroto.com. Have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next week.
There's one of us that's wearing green, and it's me. And for that, happy St. Patrick's Day, and later says the Tater.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out Dr.